Join me in drawing a beautiful butterfly pea flower that looks realistic but is super easy to create. The butterfly pea flower is a flower of intricate shape and gorgeous colors, which makes it interesting but perhaps a bit intimidating to draw. That's why I'm going to simplify the shades and shapes I use to bring this flower drawing to life. That's why it's important to have your reference photo close by so you can consult it regularly during the drawing process. You can find the link to the reference photo I'm using in the description. When I'm drawing a complex flower like this, I always try to break it down into smaller shapes and focus on one section at a time. To begin, I sketched out the overall shape of the flower using graphite pencil, then went over the sketch with colored pencil and used kneaded eraser to lift as much graphite as I can and brighten the colored pencil sketch. I'm starting with the flower, mixing the right shades by using several blue pencils and the white pencil. You can find the list of the exact pencils I'm using in the description. To make sure the different pencils blend smoothly, I'm adding the colors in overlapping layers. You can best see how I blend colors in the part where I blend the blue and the white of the petal. To create a smooth transition between the two colors, I'm adding blue from top left towards bottom right, adding more color and pressure in the top left and easing gradually as I'm moving towards the bottom right. I do the opposite when adding the white. This means that the top left will be the darkest shade of blue and the bottom right will be the brightest shade of white, while the middle part will be blended smoothly. However, I do make sure to add some white lines in the blue part of the petal to make it look like the reference photo. I also make sure to add some bright green to the white part of the petal, as can be seen in the reference photo. Next, I'm coloring the calyx using yellow and green with just a bit of white for the highlights. I'm using the same colors to color the stem, making sure not to make everything one single shade. You have to observe your reference photo closely to identify the parts that are brighter and the parts that are darker, so you can add a variety of shades to your drawing. That makes it look more dynamic, interesting, and ultimately realistic. So I divided the stem into 3 main shades. I determine all the main shades, how to mix them, and where to place them on my drawing before I start drawing. I create a shading guideline and a color palette that shows in which order to layer color pencils to get the shades I need. You can download these as additional resources on my Patreon. To color the leaves, I first add the lines in the leaves with yellow and bright green to establish their placement. Doing this first means that later I won't struggle to add the lines, which are brighter than the rest of the leaf. The yellow will show through the green I put on top to color the leaf, and I will be able to go over it again with yellow to brighten it and make it as visible as it should be. Once I added the lines, I can color the leaf. I'm using only 2 shades for each leaf, a brighter one on the top half and a darker one on the bottom half. That way, I'm simplifying the coloring process without making it look any less realistic. Once I color the leaf, I brighten the lines in the leaf with yellow. I then repeat this process on the remaining leaves. I'm not using the exact same shades on all the leaves, but you'll notice that the color of the leaves on the reference photo is not all the same either. Using several different shades makes the leaves look more interesting and realistic. I'm using a total of 4 different shades of green to achieve this effect. This can also be seen on the shading guideline that's available on my Patreon. As I finish up the drawing, I take a step back and evaluate what I've done, how the colors and the shades work together, and how true they are to the reference photo. I make a few tweaks to the colors and the shapes, brighten some parts and darken others to make sure everything looks as it should. It took me less than 1 hour to create this illustration, which is fairly quick for colored pencils, and the drawing ended up looking realistic. The best part is, you can draw this too. Remember, the key is to focus on the main shapes and shades and to keep checking your reference photo as you're drawing. And of course, to have fun with the process. If you'd like to watch this drawing process in real time, you can find the link to that video in the description. Let me know in the comments how you get along. If you create a drawing by following this tutorial, tag me on Instagram so I can see it. Don't forget to check out my other drawing videos for more fun projects.